From Nigeria, we move to Liberia, where the party of President George Weah, the Coalition for Democratic Change, CDC, has alleged that the opposition rigged last week's presidential rerun vote. And of course, however, it was said that while it raised the issue, it would not take the matter further as the party wanted to maintain unity in Liberia. President Weah conceded on Friday once it was clear that his rival, Joseph Boakai, had a slim but unassailable lead. Now, the final result released on Monday showed that he won by just over 20,000 votes. As local and international election observers, groups, and of course individuals, including from the regional bloc ECOWAS and the European Union, all declared the polls free, fair, transparent, and credible. But the CDC Secretary General at a news conference said that his party had proof that the opposition interfered with the vote. Of course, to further discuss this, I am joined on the news at this time by Augustine SM Tamba, head of Secretariat Liberia Elections Observation Network. Thank you so much for your time, Augustine.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on the news line this evening.
All right, now, what do you make of the allegation by the ruling party that the opposition rigged last week's presidential runoff vote?
I think in these elections, given the closeness of these elections, it makes it difficult for any party to accept so easily that they were defeated in the elections. Like I normally say, there is not a happy loser. I mean, people going into contestation, they go into contestation to actually win. But the truth remains is that there are a lot of other investigations ongoing around the way votes were cast in certain regions in our country. We as observer group are very concerned about some regions in our country, the way the votes were taken, in as much as the elections have been declared or a winner has been declared in our elections. It is important that we understand the voting patterns in our country. So the CDC Secretary General claim is not yet proven. It is not a proven fact, so to speak, from our own observation. But obviously, there are concerns the way votes were taken in some region of the country, including where the CDC herself were very dominant in the election period. And there are a lot of other concerns in that regard. I mean, the CDC Secretary General is highlighting that in the opposition stronghold of Nimba County, they suspected that there were forms of manipulation in that county. The National Election Commission had to rerun one of the centers, one of the polling places in Nimba County. Unlike Nimba County, in Great Crew, where the president hailed from, there were reports of underage voting. There were reports of individuals who were not on the FRR voting in that elections. There were reports where the voters turnout were more than those on the FRR. And if you come to look at even the invalid votes, the invalid votes in our election, Grand Crew register, unfortunately, the lowest form of invalid votes in these elections. So those are all concerns, even from us as a citizen observation group. So the allegation made so far by the CDC Secretary General, one can believe that these are emotional times, but they are not very foundation on the basis of facts that have been verified.
All right. Now, it seems to be a surprise that the allegation is coming days after the President George Weah actually did concede defeat to the president-elect. What does this reflect? Does it reflect some sort of, well, I call it division between the president-elect and his party, particularly when it comes to certain views? And also, what does this sort of portend for democracy or, in the country moving forward?
I think the president demonstrated a very high level of leadership, and he thought that the country should remain peaceful by conceding defeat 11 p.m. Following the pronouncement of the National Election Commission. The statement coming from the Secretary General of the CDC can clearly demonstrate that if this president had not conceded defeat, probably there would have been contestation from the party itself. But I believe that the action from the president indicated clearly that our democracy survived once again, and that we as Liberians demonstrated to the point that democracy can really work not only in Liberia, but on the African continent. I believe strongly that if the president had not made that pronouncement by 11 p.m. that night, the party probably would have had a dissenting opinion by contesting the election results. And that anyone can understand, because the election results were actually very close to call. Even during the pronouncement of the results, I mean, you can just see what the percentages are, 50% to 49%. It's just a little margin in, and a very competitive election like this. And for the seated president to concede this defeat means a lot for our democracy. And I think this is what our country needs to emanate moving forward from other political leaders in our country. They need to demonstrate leadership and to put the country interests first. But if the president had not considered this defeat, given the reaction from the Secretary General of the party, I believe strongly that these elections results were being contested, and by now probably we have been talking something different that was not going to be so favorable for our democracy.
All right. Now, the president-elect actually did mention the formation of a transitional team to facilitate a smooth handover of power. Now, how crucial is this transitional phase, and what key factors should this particular team prioritize to ensure a seamless transfer of responsibilities from the Weir government to the new government? And also, in terms of the new government, how will the experience or the experience of the former vice president, now president-elect Boakai, come into play in shaping governance and also policy making in the country?
The transitional theme is actually very much important, and that is per our own law as a country, that whenever a new government is elected, a transitional team must be put to place so that the outgoing administration brief the incoming administration on the overall status of the government. And I think that is particularly very important because of the public perception around corruption, bad governance, bad leadership, the call, the cry of the public now to investigate and to be able to prosecute corrupt officials. So this transitional arrangement is very crucial for the Joseph Boakai administration to understand exactly the system they are inheriting, the economy that they are inheriting, so that they can be able to reference this economy in months to come or in years to come, and that they can give a clear picture to the Liberian people on what is the form or the state of governance and economy of our country. So I think that is very much important. And the elected government is taking that very seriously, given the outcry of the general public. It is of no doubt that Joseph Boakai has served a very long time in our public sector, and he has a great deal of experience. The country is actually relying and thinking that with his experience, his past experience, that he can be able to engender a kind of transformation for the country, that citizens will feel much more comfortable on the forward march of our country. So I think a lot of expectation is on the is on the president-elect, not only that he's now president, but because of his over 40 years of experience in public office.
Okay.
I mean, they believe that most of these public challenges will be addressed under his leadership.
All right, Augustine S.M. Tamba, head of Secretariat, Liberia Election Observation Network, all the way from Monrovia. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It's always my pleasure.